Welcome everybody, and thanks for joining us for this webinar in which we'll take a look at how Caddie can help with the SANS 10400 XA2 vertical fenestration calculations. So let's get started. SANS 10400 replaces SANS 204 for fenestration. Since schemes that have been started before 10400 are published might still need the 204 calcs, we've left them in Caddie for now. For the purposes of this webinar, we'll start by constructing a simple single-story building, then we'll show how we can use the new tools in Caddie to analyse the fenestration. Whilst we've been working with the relevant authorities to make Caddie as accurate as possible with respect to the regulations, ultimately it is the designer's responsibility to ensure that their designs comply, and as such, Caddie's calculations should only be used as a guide. So Charles, over to you to show us how we start by creating the building.
Thank you, Derek. Yes, you will see that in this exercise I'm just going to make use of normal polyline for the outline of my building, and then normal lines for the internal walls. So let's say we presume you can even trace a normal 2D plan. So the command that we're going to make use of on the left hand side is under build, in the subcolumn we go to wall. So I'm going to click on the wall command, and in the wall parameters I'm just going to stick to a standard wall style. My wall height is 2.7. My justification, I'm going to put it to the left. So if I go clockwise, my wall will be on the inside of this polyline profile. My type is going to be a straight wall, and my variable width is going to be 220. Then I'm going to ask Caddie when it comes to my auto cleanup with base time 2. So I'm going to say OK, and then Caddie will ask us indicate start of wall. So I'm going to press S for snap to get a signal, indicate the first point, next point, next point. And as you can see, because I'm going clockwise, my wall will be on the inside. And the reason for the cleanup is that I can have then a proper cleanup where the start and the end is of my external wall. Then for the calculations, we not necessarily need to do the internal walls, but I just want to show you that you're going to use exactly the same command when it comes to changing from external to internal. So I'm going to say variable width to 110, and my justification can be center. So I'm going to say OK, and then Caddie will ask us indicate start of wall, S for snap, indicate the first point, indicate the next point, E for end. I can press spacebar to repeat previous command. I can say OK, S for snap, indicate first point, indicate next point, E for end, and as you can see it cuts into the existing wall. And then the last internal wall is, once again, can either click on the command itself, or you can press spacebar, S for snap, I get a signal, and I can indicate where I want to have my internal wall. So if I'm going to orbit it, you can see 3D model created from normal 2D. So I go back to my top view. Now we're going to add windows and doors. Now on the left hand side you will see, let me just change to a different pen color. My left hand side, I'm going to go to window. Now in this window parameters, you will see under specific, we do have NC range, we do have ND, as well as your aluminium, your PTT. So let's start off with a PTT model. So for this exercise, I think for the bathroom, I'm going to use PT612. And as you can see, it gives you the height of the window, the width of the window, and my head height remains 2100. I'm going to say OK. And Caddie will ask us indicate position for outside face of windows. So now as you can see, if I'm going to right click and I say auto snap, or I can make use of S for snap, I can get a signal in the middle of the outside. Now the reason why Caddie asks you to indicate the outside is when you're going to do the SANS calculations, you will see it will define your orientation direction. So it's either be north or south, east or west. We normally indicate on the outside, but if you indicate on the inside, it's not a train smash. I'm going to show you how to fix it when we do the calculations. So I've added my bathroom window. Now I would like to add some windows to the other rooms. So on my left hand side, I'm going to go to window. And for the room windows, I'm going to make use of a PT129 window. 129. Once again, as you can see in the preview, that will be my width and my height of my window. I'm going to say OK. And if I don't want it to be in the center of the wall, I can just press F for freehand and I can indicate the outside. Let's say I want to add a window to this side over here as well, or S to be in the center. I would like to go freehand again, indicate on this side and indicate on this side. So now I'm done with my windows. Now as you can see, the four of these windows, they're exactly the same style. So at the moment I'm making use of two styles. The one at the back, my bathroom window, and then the four is my room windows. So now I'm going to add a sliding door at the front. So let's go to top view, and on my left hand side I'm going to go to the door command. In the door command, by default you will have a standard door style, but I've already created a sliding door. I'm going to say keep it center. My width, I'm going to say OK, and Caddie will ask us indicate position for outer face of door. I'm going to indicate on the inside, just to show to you that if you indicate on the inside, it doesn't matter, because at any stage when it comes, especially for your 3D model itself, if you want the opening to be on the other side, you can just make use of the yellow arrows. So that is how the system works. So now I've got my windows and my doors. So I go back to my top view, and that's the start of my model.
Now we have a building, we can start the SANS setup. So first of all, in order to use the SANS 10400, we need to know where we are. So the SANS documentation lists various cities or towns, and in Caddie we've taken a copy of that complete list and put it into a database to make it easy for the users. So what Charles will show you is how we can make sure using the 10400 version of the setup, then we can choose the town, and having chosen the town it'll show us the latitude, which is important because depending on our latitude some of the parameters change, also which energy zone it's in, and also whether it falls within the Southern Cape condensation problem area. So over to you, Charles, show us how to do the setup.
Yes, Eric, so let's do the setup. So first of all, you will see that normally you will have a 2D plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring in one of my symbols from my catalog to define my north direction or angle. And as you can see, because we need to tell Caddie when we're going to set up the environment, that Caddie will ask you what is the north angle. So let's assume this is my 2D plan. I've created the 3D model, but I know where's my north direction. So on my left hand side, now we're going to start set up your environment. So we're going to go to sunset, the first one, and now you will see my location. Now first of all, for those, as Derek mentioned, the SANS 204 is still available, but we're going to focus on the new 10400. So I'm going to click on the SANS 10400, and as you can see your location, you're going to set your city town, and that will automatically adjust your latitude. As you can see, Pretoria is -25, and that puts me in an energy zone of number 5. Now as you can see, Caddie tells you there that Pretoria is not within the SCCP zone, and that's for your Southern Cape condensation problem area. Now the orientation, if you know what is the angle, you can type in the angle. I'm going to say peak, I'm going to zoom in, S for snap, and I'm going to indicate the direction of my north. Then my ticks, that is the color it's going to display on your screen. It's non-plottable, but you can change the color if you'd like to. Then my story, as Derek explained to you, we're only going to stick to one story, so it says story 1. So I'm going to say, okay, so my location is set up, so now we're going to go to the next step, and that is to add areas to it. Now for this exercise, I'm just going to create one area, so I'm going to click on area, and Caddie will ask us indicate area corners. 2 diagonal corners for rectangular area. So I'm just going to indicate the first point, next point, next point, next point, next point. So once again, it's just for this exercise, I'm going to make use of this one area. So I'm going to press E for end. Caddie will ask us for area reference, and let's just call this area. Now, as you can see, it's going to be on story number 1. I'm going to ask Caddie to make my text plottable, and I don't want to create another polyline, and my area height is 2.6. Now, as you can see, most of the commands, as soon as you move your pointer over any dialog that you need to fill in area, Caddie will always give you a description. So I'm going to say OK, and as you can see, it displays the area. Now all that we need next is the roof, because when we're going to do a section, that's going to determine your P and your H value. So to add a roof, on my left hand side, we're going to go back to the build. In a subcolumn, we go down to roofs. So I'm going to click on the roof command, and as you can see, Caddie supplied different types of roof profiles. We're just going to keep it straightforward ahead. My pitch is 26, my overhang is going to be 500, base height is 27, and I can indicate by point or polyline, but I'm going to ask Caddie to do auto detect. I'm going to say OK, and Caddie will ask us indicate diagonal corners of rectangle, first corner. So indicate first point, opposite corner, and as you can see, it creates the roofs. So I'm going to orbit. There's my 3D model from a normal 2D polyline. So let's go back to the top setting.
Now we know where the building is and its orientation, we can move on to the windows and the doors. Now the 10400 regulations base the U values according to the area of the glazing compared to the area of the floor for each story. And the maximum solar heat gain coefficient, or the SHGC, the allowed values are also based on the fenestration area compared to story area, and also for each particular unit whether the shading conforms to section 5.2.2. So Charles will be showing us how we actually check whether whether the shading conforms or not. If it doesn't conform, we just have to have lower values for the SHGC. And all of this is actually dependent on the direction that the windows or doors face. So southwest, south and southeastern orientation have far less effect on the calculations than those in the west, northwest, north, northeast and east sector.
Yes, Derek. So before we're going to indicate the windows and the doors that we want to add to the calculations, we first have to do a section through it. So as you can see at the moment, my sliding doors here at the front, and I've got the bathroom window there at the back. I would like to include both of them on my elevation or my section. So on my left hand side, I'm going to go to build and I'm going to say vertical section. I'm going to say quick section, and Caddie will ask us indicate the section profile. Section height is 10,000. Now I know it's because it's a single story, it's within 10,000 millimeters. I'm going to indicate the start point of my section. I'm going to go vertical and then I'm going to come left, and as you can see, your sections is not necessarily horizontal or vertical. You can give it a step because I want to include both these two windows on my section. E for end, and Caddie will ask us indicate the section extent, and I'm going to take it to the left hand side. Caddie will then ask us to position for the section, and let's place it on the side. I'm just going to change this color to, let's say, to yellow, and let's change the active color also to yellow. So that is now my section, because let me just do another one and then I'm going to show you your P and your H value. So another section, because now I know my bathroom window is included, my sliding doors included, the other 4 windows they're using exactly the same style, and my overhang is exactly the same. So actually all I need is just a section from the one window, but let's do more than one just to prove my point. So I'm just going to say that it starts over here. I'm going to hold down my tab key all the way up to the other end, and as you can see at the moment I'm crossing both of those 2 windows. E for end, and I want to look in that direction, and I'm going to place my elevation or my section, and as you can see both of them exactly the same window style and they've got the same overhang. So when it comes to the dimensioning, what I'm going to do now is I can only apply to this one window and it will be applicable to all 4 of the other windows. So first of all, let's go to the dimensioning so that I can explain to you the difference, because when it comes to the SANS calculations, you will see that it's going to ask you for a P value and an H value. Now your P value is what we call the outer face of glass to the extent of shading. So I'm going to go to my horizontal dimension and I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to ask Caddie, right, that's going to be the outer face of my glass to the extent of my shading, and I'm going to place my dimension. Escape. And when it comes to your H value, that is the base of glazing to the shadow cast edge. So I'm going to go vertical, and it's going to be from here up to there. That will be my H value. I'm just going to do the dimensions so that when we're going to do the SANS calculations, I'm going to refer back to this section that we did here. So let's do the same on this window. My P value will be the outer face of window to the extent of shading. It's placed over here, and my H value will be from the base of my glazing to the shadow cast edge. That's my H value. So I've got my sliding door dimensioned, I've got my bathroom window dimensioned, so it's now only my room windows PT129 that I have to dimension. So my P value, outer face of glass to extent of shading, as well as my H value, base of glazing to shadow cast edge, and I can place the dimension. So now that I did the sections, I did the dimensions, you will see you don't have to do the dimensions, but what I want to show you is that, say for instance you've got a 2D plan, you've already done your sections, that you can work from existing 2D dimensions as well. So let's add the windows now. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to start off with the bathroom one. Now as you can see, the command that you're going to make use of, on your left hand side in the root menu, you go down to your SANS, and in the subcolumn, last command that says SANS 10400 vertical fenestration windows and doors. So I'm going to click on the command and Caddie will ask us indicate window or door. So as you can see, there's my bathroom window. I just want to get to a zoom so that we're going to make use of those calculations there, or those dimensions. So I'm going to click on the window, and the first of all, as Derek mentioned earlier on, is that it's important that your arrow indicate to the outside because that is your orientation sector. Now, as you can see, if for some reason your arrow shows to the inside, you can just make use of the mirror command and it changes, as you can see, from northwest to southeast. First of all, it picks up the size of your window. It's fully glazed, and then P in your H value. Now, I've did my section, so I can just take dimensions from here on the right hand side. When it's come to my P value, that's going to be 607. As you can see, Caddie gives you explanation. Outer face of glass to extent of shading, that's your P value. Base of glazing to shadow casting edge, that is your H value. In this case, my H will be 1476. So 1476, and my P value is the 607. I'm happy with those dimensions. I'm going to say check, and then Caddie will confirm. Shading for this element is in accordance with 5.2.2. Then we've got the story. Now, we're only working on story 1, that's fine. And then you've got your performance, that means what frame. As you can see, I'm using an aluminium steel frame, single clear. If you're using for some reason a custom window style or custom product, as you can see, you can make use of user defined custom. So I'm going to stick to aluminium steel frame, single clear. I'm going to say OK, and now you'll see that it will get a tick. So now it's added to the calculations. So let's go to the next window. Now this window is the window here on the right hand side. So it picks up the size of the window, and then my P value for this one is going to be a 607. That remains the same, but my H value, because this is different size in windows, that will be 1216. 1216. I'm going to say check, and Caddie shading of this element is in accordance with 5.2.2. So the rest remains the same. My story, I've got only one story, and it's the same frame. So I'm going to say OK, and as you can see, I get another tick. Let's go to the next window. Now, because both of these two windows are the same style, I can just click on the window, just double check and make sure that the arrow is to the outside. Once again, if the arrow is to the inside, I can just click on mirror. It picks up the pics of the window. My P value, that will remain the same because I've got the same overhang and the same style. So my P will be 607 and my H will be 1216. I'm going to say check, and Caddie confirm. Shading for this element is in accordance with 5.2.2. I'm going to say OK, and let's finish up with the windows, because these two windows, they all sharing the same style and the same overhang. So I'm going to click on the window, the arrows to the outside, the P and the H value remains the same. I'm going to say OK, and indicate the last window, arrows to the outside, and I'm going to say OK. So now I'm going to get to my sliding door. I'm going to indicate my sliding door, and as you can see, now my arrow shows to the inside. Remember, when I insert the door, I clicked on the inside. So all I can do is I can just click on mirror, and as you can see, it changed from northwest to southeast. So now my P and my H value should differ, and this is the dimensions that we use over here. So when it comes to my sliding door, my P value is going to be 571. My H value is going to be 2362. I'm going to say check, and then you will see shading for this element is not in accordance with 5.2.2. But that's as Derek explained. You get two tables, but once again, when you're going to do the training, then it will make more sense. So I'm going to say OK, and so all my windows and my doors included.
Okay, cool. So now we've got all the windows and doors in place. All that's left for us is to create the report. So we can either report to screen or we can report to file. So Charles, let's see whether our building passes or fails.
Right, let's see if we're going to pass. I just want to select those windows and doors. I just want to change the assembly to a different pen color. Let's make this one yellow like that, so that we can see it on the screen, as well as my sliding door. Change that to yellow as well, because what I'm going to show now is that Caddie's going to confirm and tell us how many doors and windows it picks up, so that we can just double check if it matches with my model. So on the left hand side, the last command, as you can see, it says Sans 10400 vertical fenestration calculation. So I'm going to click on the command, and Caddie will just remind you, these calculations are Caddie's interpretation for the Sans standards. It is the user responsibility to ensure that the design comply with the relevant standards. Do I want to continue? I'm going to say yes. Then Caddie will ask us all visible objects or select by rectangle. What we mean by that is it may be that you have more than one model in your model space. So then you can be selective and tell Caddie, I will select from left to right. And now Caddie confirms. Story 1 has 6 windows and doors. So remember what we did with those. I've changed the color. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's correct. I've got one area. That makes sense. If this is correct, say yes to perform the calculation. So I'm going to say yes, and then Caddie will ask us the output file. It can either be a notepad, a text file, or it can be an Excel file. I'm going to export it to a text file. And now Caddie will ask us to give it a name, and I'm going to call this Caddie 27 Suns 10400. I'm going to say save, do a calculations, and then it will open automatically. And in this text file, as you can see, Caddie give you the whole breakdown for all the settings that we did. Window to floor area ratio for story 1 is 13.2%. Shades SHGC, that is now for your solar heat gain coefficient. My total for west, northwest, north and northeast. My southwest, south and southeast sector. As you can see, it gives you the breakdown. And as you scroll down at the bottom, you will see that your total story floor area is 49.1. Total story fenestration area is 6.4. Max U value for story is any solution. My U value for story is 7.9. And I pass on both. My story complied with the U value and my story complied with SHGC, your solar heat gain coefficient. So I can select the text, Control A, right click, and I can say copy. And then all I have to do is I can just go to my normal editor and Control V or right click paste. I'm going to say OK, zoom out, and I can place my text. So that's how quickly and fast Caddie can help.